studying for this exam, first of all, make sure you book the exam at the start of your study period, and then you know what you're aiming for. You can see how much time you've got to divide up between now and when you're actually going to sit that exam. Make sure when you're practicing questions, wherever you can, you're practicing in the real exam software. The Practice Test Academy software is very close, or the ACCA software itself you could use. Make sure you always do questions to time. It's a bad habit to get into, to give yourself ages and ages and ages to do every single question, because you won't have the luxury of time in the real exam. As we said earlier, that section C is a blind spot for many, especially the words in section C, so make sure you give time to those, and that will put you ahead of the field. Cover the whole syllabus, even the hard bits. In fact, focus on the bits that you can't do when you're studying. It's tempting to stick to the bits you feel comfortable with, but the exam is designed to try and cover the whole syllabus, so you'll be preparing yourself best in working through the whole syllabus. Make sure that you learn mainly through question practice. Sitting and learning a file is a very passive way to try and learn. It's very hard for it to cram it into your head that way. It's often for people much more effective to have a go at questions once they've studied, have a go at questions, and then if there's any questions they can't do, then flick back into the notes to help you. And that's a much more proactive way of learning. It should stick in your head better. Focus on what you can't do in your study time, and then focus on what you can do on the day. And keep track of the questions you've done. So when you have a go at questions, try to keep the answers away from the questions themselves so that you can use those questions again later on down the line. I always used to keep track of the questions I got wrong in particular, and then after a bit of time had gone by, I'd have another go at them just to make sure I could now do them. So when you're studying, keep a diary and write what you're going to do every single day in those study sessions. And commit that. Put yourself first in this process and commit to those study sessions. Don't let other people and other things take them away. I'm not saying here you need to study every single day. You might well put a break day in your diary. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But stick to the dates that you've put in your diary. Give yourself regular breaks when you're studying. Every sort of 10-15 minutes or so, just look away from the screen for perhaps a minute and relax your shoulders and so on. Every hour, make sure you take a good 10 or 15 minute break. To be honest, even if you don't feel like you need it, take that break, walk around, have a stretch, have a drink, and that will keep the energy levels up for a much longer period of time. Try and keep your study sessions output based. Now, what I mean by that is that when you're saying, I'm going to study now for my exam, rather than saying, I'm going to study for 2 hours, say I'm going to do these questions, and when these questions are done satisfactorily, then I'm finished. And that motivates you to get down and start working hard. If you give yourself a time limit, there's every incentive to slow down and waste time in those kinds of sessions. So give yourself output-based targets. The other benefit of those is that if you plan your work in that way, you're guaranteed to get through the work you need to get through by the time you get to the exam. And make sure you keep practicing as much as you can in the real computer-based exam environment.